Life is full of moments that test our patience, our endurance, and our determination. At times, challenges seem so overwhelming that it feels like they will last forever. In those dark moments, it is easy to lose sight of the truth that challenges are temporary, but the strength we gain from overcoming them lasts forever. Every obstacle, no matter how heavy it feels in the present, eventually passes. The pain, the frustration, and the uncertainty may linger for a while, but they are never permanent. What stays with us is the resilience we build, the character we shape, and the courage we discover within ourselves while navigating through these difficult times. This is why it is essential to understand that challenges are not meant to break us, but to prepare us for something greater. Think about any hardship you have faced in your life. At the time, it probably felt impossible to get through. Whether it was a personal loss, financial difficulty, academic struggle, or emotional setback, the situation may have seemed like it had no end. Yet here you are today, standing stronger than you once were. That moment of hardship did not last forever. What stayed with you is the wisdom it left behind. The truth is that no storm lasts a lifetime. The clouds eventually clear, the sun shines again, and life moves forward. But the strength you gain while enduring that storm becomes part of who you are. It becomes your shield in the next battle and your inspiration when you doubt yourself. Strength is not built in times of comfort. It is shaped in the moments when you feel like giving up, but decide to keep going anyway. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. When we face adversity, we are forced to tap into parts of ourselves we did not even know existed. We discover patience we never thought we had, courage we never imagined, and hope that carries us forward. These qualities remain with us long after the challenge is gone. That is why it is so important to keep reminding ourselves that difficulties are temporary. The discomfort will fade, but the resilience gained becomes permanent. Many people see challenges as punishment or as proof that they are not capable. In reality, challenges are a natural part of life, and they serve a purpose. They teach us humility, perseverance, and gratitude. Imagine a life without struggle. It may sound peaceful, but in truth, it would leave us unprepared for the inevitable obstacles we all encounter. Without challenges, we would never know the depth of our strength. We would never appreciate our victories. When we climb a mountain, the view at the top is breathtaking, not because the peak is high, but because we remember every step, every slip, and every moment of doubt that we overcame to get there. The climb is temporary, but the pride and strength gained remain forever. Sometimes challenges last longer than we expect, and that is when the temptation to give up is strongest. But we must remember that even in long struggles, change is happening. Just like a seed buried underground takes time to sprout, our growth during hardship may not be visible right away, yet under the surface we are developing strength and resilience. The roots of perseverance are being planted. The struggle might feel endless, but eventually it produces growth that will carry us forward. What matters most is holding on long enough to see that growth emerge. When people reflect on their lives, they rarely talk about the easy times that came without effort. What they remember most are the battles they fought and conquered. They remember how they endured when quitting seemed like the easier choice. They remember the tears, the sacrifices, and the courage it took to stand firm in the face of adversity. These memories are not painful reminders, but powerful testimonies of strength. They serve as proof that no challenge can hold us down forever, and when new challenges arise, those past victories remind us that we are stronger than any obstacle in front of us. It is also important to understand that strength is not only about surviving challenges, but about transforming because of them. A person who loses everything and finds a way to rebuild develops a kind of resilience that cannot be shaken. A student who fails repeatedly but continues to study eventually discovers not just knowledge but discipline and patience. An athlete who endures injury and keeps training learns not only physical endurance but mental toughness. These are strengths that stay with us for life. They shape the way we approach future struggles and inspire those around us who are still fighting their battles. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by challenges, remind yourself that they will not last forever. The hardship you are facing today will one day become a story of triumph. The tears you cry today will one day turn into words of encouragement for someone else. You will be able to say, "I survived, and I am stronger because of it." That strength will be your gift, not only to yourself, but also to the people who look up to you and find hope in your example. Challenges do not define us by how difficult they are. They define us by how we respond. And when we respond with persistence and courage, we prove that our strength is far greater than any temporary hardship. In the end, challenges are fleeting moments, but the strength we build is eternal. Every obstacle you face is shaping you into someone more resilient, more courageous, and more determined. The storm will pass, but the power you gain will remain. Hold on to that truth whenever life feels unbearable. Remember that your struggles are only chapters, not the whole story. And when the dust settles, you will not just be the same person you were before. You will be stronger, wiser, and ready to conquer even greater heights. That is why we must never give up, because every challenge carries within it the seed of permanent strength. Failure is often viewed as the end of the road, a sign that we are not capable, or evidence that our dreams are out of reach. But the truth is, failure is not the end, it is the lesson. Every time we fail, life is giving us feedback, pointing out what did not work and guiding us toward what will. No great achievement in history came without setbacks, and no person who has ever succeeded avoided failure altogether. The difference between those who quit and those who triumph is perspective. Some see failure as final, but others see it as a teacher. The ones who succeed are those who embrace failure as a step forward rather than a dead end. When you fail, it is natural to feel discouraged, embarrassed, or even defeated. Those emotions are part of being human. Yet, hidden beneath those emotions is the opportunity to learn something invaluable. Each failure gives us information we could not have gained otherwise. It teaches us about our weaknesses, our blind spots, and even our strengths. It forces us to reevaluate our methods, rethink our strategies, and sharpen our focus. Without failure, growth would be slow, and success would have little meaning. In fact, success is often nothing more than the result of many failures stacked on top of each other, each one teaching a vital lesson that leads to eventual victory. Consider the inventors, leaders, and dreamers who changed the world. Thomas Edison famously said he did not fail thousands of times when trying to create the light bulb. Instead, he found thousands of ways that did not work. His perspective transformed failure from a source of frustration into a stepping stone toward success. The same is true for athletes who miss countless shots before they master their sport, for entrepreneurs who launch businesses that collapse before they find one that thrives, and for students who struggle through exams before finally excelling. Failure is not a sign that you are incapable. It is evidence that you are trying, learning, and moving closer to your goal. It is important to recognize that failure only becomes final when we stop trying. As long as we are willing to stand up after falling, failure cannot defeat us. Each time we rise, we are stronger than before. We are armed with new knowledge and a deeper understanding of what it will take to succeed. Quitting, on the other hand, guarantees that we never reach our destination. That is why we must change the way we see failure. Instead of fearing it, we should welcome it as a teacher. Instead of avoiding it, we should embrace the risks that come with chasing our dreams, knowing that every setback will eventually serve our progress. Another truth about failure is that it humbles us. It strips away arrogance and forces us to acknowledge that we do not have all the answers. This humility is powerful because it keeps us open to growth. It makes us more willing to seek advice, learn from others, and keep improving. Failure also builds empathy because when we know what it feels like to struggle, we are more likely to encourage others who are facing their own hardships. In this way, failure not only teaches us about ourselves, but also deepens our connection to those around us. One of the greatest tragedies in life is not failure itself, but the fear of failure. Too many people let that fear stop them from ever trying. They stay in their comfort zones, avoiding risks and convincing themselves that it is safer not to attempt at all. But in reality, playing it safe often leads to regret. Failure hurts in the moment, but regret lasts a lifetime. The pain of trying and failing fades as soon as we rise and try again, but the pain of never daring to try can haunt us forever. That is why it is better to fail boldly than to live quietly with unfulfilled dreams. When you reframe failure as a lesson, you free yourself from shame and disappointment. Instead of saying, "I failed," you begin to say, "I learned." That shift in language is powerful. It allows you to see every setback as part of the process rather than a judgment of your worth. You stop measuring yourself by a single outcome and start measuring yourself by your persistence. And persistence is what ultimately leads to success. The people who keep going, who take each lesson and apply it, are the ones who achieve the impossible. They understand that failure is not the end of their journey. It is the map that shows them where to go next. Think of failure as a mirror that reflects your progress. It shows you what you need to improve, what strategies need adjusting, and what strengths you can rely on. Without that reflection, you would move blindly, unaware of what works and what does not. Failure provides clarity, and clarity is one of the greatest tools for growth. It transforms confusion into direction and doubt into determination. Each failure is a signpost pointing the way forward if only we are willing to read it. In the bigger picture, failure adds depth to our story. A person who succeeds without struggle often has little to teach others. But a person who has failed, endured, and kept moving forward becomes a source of inspiration. Their journey reminds us that setbacks are part of the path and that perseverance pays off. When you share your failures and the lessons you learned, you light the way for others who may be facing their own dark moments. In this sense, failure is not just a personal lesson. It becomes a gift to others as well. Ultimately, failure is never the end. It is the beginning of a new approach, a deeper understanding, and a stronger version of yourself. Each time you fail, you are being refined, not defeated. You are being prepared for the day when success arrives, and when it does, you will appreciate it far more because you know what it cost to get there. So the next time you stumble, remember this truth. Failure is not a signal to stop, but an invitation to learn. It is not your enemy, it is your teacher. And if you listen closely to what it has to say, you will discover that failure is not the end of your story. It is the very thing that makes your story worth telling. Every step forward counts, no matter how small it may seem at the time. Too often, people underestimate the power of small progress because they are so focused on the big picture or the final goal. They convince themselves that if they cannot take a giant leap, then there is no point in moving at all. This mindset is one of the greatest barriers to success. The truth is that great achievements are built on small, consistent steps taken day after day. Progress is not always loud, dramatic, or instantly visible. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and almost invisible, but it is progress nonetheless. What matters most is not the speed or size of the step, but the fact that you are moving forward. When you look at a mountain from the base, the peak can seem impossibly far away. The climb feels intimidating, and the temptation to give up before even starting can be strong. But the only way to reach the summit is to take one step at a time. Each step may feel small compared to the height of the mountain, but together they create the path to the top. The same principle applies to every area of life. Whether you are working toward a personal goal, a career milestone, or self-improvement, the key is to keep moving even when the progress feels too small to matter. Over time, those small steps compound into something extraordinary. The problem is that many people dismiss their small progress because they want instant results. They compare themselves to others who are ahead and convince themselves that their own efforts are insignificant. This comparison robs them of motivation. What they fail to see is that every person they admire also started small. No one achieves greatness overnight. Behind every success story is a series of tiny, unseen steps. Late nights of practice, small sacrifices, and daily choices that added up over months and years. If you celebrate small steps instead of dismissing them, you give yourself the encouragement needed to keep going. There is also a psychological power in acknowledging small progress. When you recognize each step forward, you build confidence and momentum. Imagine pushing a heavy boulder. At first, it barely moves and your effort feels wasted. But if you keep applying pressure, even in tiny amounts, eventually the boulder shifts and momentum carries it forward. The same is true for personal progress. Small actions create momentum, and momentum makes it easier to keep going. If you ignore those small steps, you risk losing motivation. But if you acknowledge them, they become fuel for persistence. Sometimes progress is not visible at all. You might feel like you are stuck, working hard without results. In those moments, it is important to remember that not all progress shows on the surface right away. Just as seeds planted underground take time to sprout, your efforts may be preparing the way for growth you cannot yet see. Reading a page a day builds knowledge slowly. Saving a little money each week grows into financial stability. Practicing a skill in small increments eventually leads to mastery. The outward results may be delayed, but the growth is happening nonetheless. Small steps also build discipline. When you commit to consistent daily actions, you train yourself to be reliable, focused, and resilient. Even on days when motivation is low, taking one small step keeps the habit alive. That discipline becomes a powerful tool when bigger challenges arise. It teaches you that progress is not about grand gestures, but about persistence. It is not about doing everything at once, but about doing something every day. This mindset allows you to keep going even when the journey feels overwhelming. Another powerful truth is that small progress compounds. Think about compounding interest in finance. A small amount of money grows exponentially when given time. The same principle applies to personal growth and achievement. If you read just 10 pages a day, by the end of the year, you will have read more than a dozen books. If you practice a skill for 15 minutes each day, you will be far ahead of those who wait for the perfect time to practice for hours. Small actions multiply, and with enough consistency, they transform into results far greater than you imagine. It is also important to appreciate that small steps keep you moving during tough times. Life is unpredictable, and there will be days when energy, resources, or motivation are scarce. On those days, taking even a tiny step forward prevents you from losing all momentum. It may not seem like much, but it is enough to keep you in the game. Over time, these small efforts made during hard times can be the difference between reaching your goal and giving up. They remind you that progress does not have to be perfect. It only has to be persistent. When you finally reach your goal, you will look back and realize that it was not one giant leap that carried you there, but thousands of small steps. You will remember the nights when you almost quit, but decided to take just one more step instead. You will see that every small effort mattered, even when it did not feel like it at the time. This realization will fill you with pride, not only for the achievement itself, but for the patience and persistence that made it possible. In life, the people who succeed are rarely the ones who had everything figured out from the start. They are the ones who kept moving, one step at a time, no matter how small those steps seemed. They understood that progress is progress, whether it is a sprint or a crawl. They refused to let discouragement rob them of persistence. And in the end, those small steps carried them further than they ever imagined. So never underestimate the power of small progress. Each step forward is a victory. Each action you take is proof that you have not given up. No matter how small, each step brings you closer to where you want to be. Remember, success is not built in a single day. It is built in countless small moments of persistence. And when you keep moving forward even slowly, you will eventually realize that you are far closer to your dream than you ever thought possible. Believing in yourself when no one else does is one of the hardest yet most powerful things you can ever learn to do. The world will not always recognize your potential. People may doubt your dreams, criticize your efforts, or even laugh at your ambitions. Sometimes the very people you expect to support you will be the ones who tell you that you are aiming too high or chasing something impossible. In those moments, the voice of doubt from others can echo so loudly that you begin to question yourself. But if you allow the opinions of others to define your worth or limit your vision, you will never discover what you are truly capable of. The key is to trust yourself even when no one else does, because your belief is the foundation of every achievement you will ever make. Every great success story begins with someone who dared to believe in themselves despite the doubts of others. When people told the Wright brothers that human flight was impossible, they continued working until the first airplane lifted off the ground. When J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers, she believed in her story enough to keep trying until Harry Potter became a worldwide phenomenon. History is filled with examples of people who were doubted, ridiculed, or ignored, yet they chose to listen to their inner conviction instead of the noise around them. Their belief in themselves became the spark that lit the fire of success. The reason self-belief is so powerful is because it fuels action. When you believe in yourself, you are willing to take risks, to push past fear, and to keep going after setbacks. Without that belief, every obstacle feels like proof that you are not good enough. But with belief, obstacles become challenges you know you can overcome. Belief transforms failure into feedback and rejection into redirection. It gives you the courage to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain. And most importantly, belief keeps your dream alive when everything else seems determined to kill it. Of course, believing in yourself does not mean ignoring reality or pretending challenges do not exist. It means acknowledging the difficulty, but choosing to trust that you can grow strong enough to handle it. It means recognizing that even though you are not yet where you want to be, you have the ability to get there. Many people confuse self-belief with arrogance, but they are not the same. Arrogance assumes you are already the best. Self-belief simply says, I have what it takes to keep going until I become the best version of myself. That distinction is important because true belief is rooted in effort, persistence, and growth. The journey of self-belief often starts in silence, when no one else sees what you see. It is in those quiet moments when you are working alone, practicing in the dark, or dreaming about a better future that belief matters most. Others may not notice your effort, and some may dismiss it entirely. But just because they do not see it does not mean it is worthless. The world may not yet recognize your potential, but that does not erase it. Your value does not depend on their approval. You must carry your dream like a flame, protecting it until it grows strong enough for others to see. One of the hardest tests of self-belief is rejection. Whether it is being told no by an employer, being overlooked for an opportunity, or being criticized for your ideas, rejection stings deeply. But rejection is not a verdict on your worth. It is simply a reminder to try again, refine your skills, or take a different path. Many of the most successful people in the world faced rejection countless times. The difference between them and those who gave up is that they continued to believe in themselves even when no one else did. They used rejection as fuel, not as a reason to quit. Believing in yourself also means silencing your own inner critic. Sometimes the loudest voice of doubt is not from others but from within. It whispers that you are not ready, not talented enough, or not worthy. This inner critic feeds on fear and insecurity. To overcome it, you must speak louder with words of belief. Tell yourself that you are capable, remind yourself of how far you have already come, and affirm that progress is possible. Self-belief is not about never feeling doubt, it is about refusing to let doubt control your decisions. It is also important to surround yourself with reminders of your own strength. Write down your goals, track your progress, and celebrate your small victories. These reminders reinforce your belief when external validation is absent. Believing in yourself does not mean you cannot accept encouragement from others. It simply means that your belief is not dependent on it. Encouragement is a bonus, not a requirement. The strongest belief comes from within, and when it grows, it becomes unshakable. Eventually, the world catches up. The people who once doubted you begin to notice your persistence and progress. Some will admire your determination. Others will wonder how you managed to prove them wrong. But by then, their opinions will no longer matter because you will have built your own foundation of belief. You will realize that the strength to keep going was never about convincing others. It was always about convincing yourself. When you believe in yourself, you become unstoppable. You are no longer bound by the limitations others place on you. You define your own path, set your own standards, and refuse to give up when the journey gets hard. This belief is what carries you through the darkest times and gives you the courage to chase the brightest dreams. So when no one else believes in you, choose to believe in yourself. That belief is not only enough, it is the most powerful force you have. It is the seed from which every success grows, the anchor that keeps you steady in the storm, and the fire that lights your way when the world around you is dark. Life has a way of throwing obstacles in our path just when we think we are making progress. These obstacles can come in many forms: financial struggles, personal setbacks, health issues, failures, or unexpected challenges that seem to appear out of nowhere. When we face them, our first instinct is often frustration, disappointment, or even despair. We ask ourselves, why now, or why me? But hidden within every obstacle is an opportunity, a chance to grow, to learn, to redirect, or to become stronger than we were before. The difference between people who succeed and those who give up is not the absence of obstacles, but the perspective they bring to them. Obstacles can either be walls that stop us or doors that push us toward new opportunities. It all depends on how we choose to see them. Every obstacle carries with it the potential for transformation. When something blocks your path, it forces you to pause and think differently. It demands creativity, resilience, and problem solving. In that struggle, you often discover solutions you would never have considered otherwise. For example, many great inventions and breakthroughs were born out of obstacles. A lack of resources pushed people to innovate. A failed plan redirected them to a better one. A closed door motivated them to knock on others until one opened. The obstacle itself did not define the outcome, the response did. When you face an obstacle, you have two choices. Let it defeat you or let it refine you. If you see it only as a burden, you risk stopping altogether. But if you see it as an opportunity, you turn it into a stepping stone. Imagine climbing a mountain where a giant rock blocks your way. You could stand there and complain about it, or you could climb it and use it to get to higher ground. The rock becomes part of the journey upward. Life works the same way. Every obstacle has the potential to lift you higher if you are willing to use it. Obstacles also reveal strengths you did not know you had. When everything is going smoothly, we rarely tap into our deepest reserves of courage, determination, or creativity. But when a challenge arises, we are forced to dig deeper. That digging often uncovers parts of ourselves we did not know existed. You may discover patience in the middle of frustration, perseverance in the middle of failure, or faith in the middle of uncertainty. These discoveries do not happen in comfort. They happen in struggle. Obstacles, therefore, are not just challenges to overcome, but opportunities to discover your true strength. Another hidden gift of obstacles is the wisdom they bring. Each challenge you face teaches you something valuable. A failed attempt may teach you what not to do next time. A difficult season may teach you gratitude for small blessings. A loss may teach you empathy for others going through the same pain. This wisdom is priceless because it not only helps you grow, but also equips you to guide and inspire others. Often, the very obstacle that seemed so painful becomes the reason you can help someone else later in life. Your struggle becomes your testimony, and your testimony becomes someone else's hope. Sometimes obstacles redirect us toward paths we never considered but were meant to take. Many people hold on tightly to a plan, only to find it blocked by circumstances outside their control. At first, this feels devastating, but later they realize that the obstacle was actually a blessing in disguise, pushing them towards something better. How many careers have been born from job rejections? How many friendships or opportunities have appeared because of closed doors elsewhere? Life has a way of using obstacles to move us toward where we are truly meant to be. What feels like the end is often just the beginning of a new chapter. Turning obstacles into opportunities requires a mindset shift. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" or "How can I grow from this?" These questions turn frustration into curiosity and defeat into determination. It is not about denying the difficulty. Obstacles are hard and sometimes painful, but choosing to see them as opportunities allows you to move through them with purpose instead of despair. This mindset does not make obstacles disappear, but it makes them meaningful. It is also important to remember that obstacles are temporary, but the growth they create is permanent. You may not be able to control every challenge you face, but you can always control your response. If you choose resilience, courage, and adaptability, then the obstacle becomes part of your success story. Years later, when you look back, you will not remember the pain as vividly as you remember the strength you gained. You will see that what once felt like a setback was actually a setup for something greater. Think about the stories that inspire us the most. They are rarely about people who had everything go smoothly. They are about people who faced unimaginable obstacles and still found a way forward. Their stories resonate because we all know what it feels like to struggle, and we all hope to overcome. When you turn your own obstacles into opportunities, you not only change your life, but also inspire others to believe they can do the same. In the end, obstacles are not enemies, but invitations. They invite you to rise higher, to dig deeper, to think smarter, and to live braver. They are the tests that prepare you for the victories ahead. So when you encounter them, do not see them as signs to stop. See them as signs that you are on a meaningful path, a path worth walking. because every obstacle you face carries within it the chance to transform you and to open doors you never imagined. What seems like a block today may one day be the very reason you reach a place you never thought possible. That is why it is so important to turn obstacles into opportunities, because in doing so, you not only overcome the challenge but also unlock the greatness within you. Dreams begin as sparks in the imagination, visions of what could be, possibilities of a life we long to create. But dreams, no matter how vivid, do not become reality on their own. They demand persistence, the steady and determined pursuit of a goal despite difficulty, delay, or discouragement. Persistence is the bridge that connects vision to accomplishment. It is what transforms a fleeting hope into a tangible result. Without persistence, dreams remain just that, dreams. With persistence, however, they grow into achievements that change lives, inspire others, and leave legacies. The power of persistence lies in its ability to outlast obstacles. Every journey toward a dream is marked by challenges. There will be setbacks, failures, rejections, and moments of deep doubt. Many people give up when they encounter these difficulties, assuming the dream was impossible or not meant for them. But those who persist refuse to let setbacks define them. They rise after every fall, try again after every failure, and keep moving forward no matter how many times they are told no. This relentless spirit is what eventually breaks through barriers and turns the impossible into the possible. Persistence also builds strength and character. Each time you persist in the face of difficulty, you grow tougher, wiser, and more disciplined. You begin to see that success is not a single event, but a series of small, consistent actions taken over time. A writer becomes an author not by inspiration alone, but by the persistence of writing page after page, even on days when words come slowly. An athlete becomes a champion not by talent alone, but by the persistence of training daily, even when the body aches. A student achieves mastery not by intelligence alone, but by the persistence of studying, reviewing, and refusing to quit. In every field, persistence is the hidden force behind greatness. The stories of successful people across history illustrate this truth. Abraham Lincoln faced numerous political defeats before becoming one of the most respected presidents in history. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination before creating one of the most beloved creative empires the world has ever seen. Oprah Winfrey was rejected and doubted before becoming a global icon. Each of them faced rejection and failure, but persistence allowed them to keep moving forward until their dreams came alive. These examples remind us that persistence is not about avoiding struggle, but about enduring through it. One of the greatest challenges to persistence is time. Dreams rarely come to fruition quickly. The delay between vision and fulfillment often feels unbearable. In that waiting period, discouragement grows strong. Doubts whisper that progress is too slow or that the dream is slipping away. But persistence thrives on patience. It is the ability to keep going not only when the path is hard, but also when the reward seems far away. Persistence is fueled by the belief that every step, no matter how small, is bringing you closer to your goal. It is the refusal to quit even when results are not yet visible. Persistence also requires faith in yourself and in the process. There will be moments when others doubt you, when circumstances seem stacked against you, and when giving up appears easier than pressing on. In those moments, persistence is what whispers, "Keep going. You're not done yet." It is the inner conviction that the dream is worth the effort, and that success is possible even when it feels distant. This faith sustains action when motivation fades and hope feels weak. It is important to understand that persistence does not mean blindly repeating the same actions without learning. True persistence is smart persistence. It combines determination with adaptation. When one method fails, persistence finds another. When one door closes, persistence looks for a window. This willingness to adjust while refusing to quit ensures that progress continues, even if the path looks different than expected. Dreams often evolve along the way, and persistence allows you to grow with them without abandoning them. Another powerful aspect of persistence is the inspiration it creates for others. When people see you continue despite difficulties, they are reminded that perseverance is possible in their own lives. Your persistence becomes a living example of hope. Parents who persist in providing for their families inspire their children. Teachers who persist in encouraging students inspire confidence in those who are struggling. Leaders who persist in their vision inspire entire communities to believe in a better future. In this way, persistence not only turns your dreams into reality, but also gives others the courage to pursue theirs. In the end, persistence turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. It is not talent alone, intelligence alone, or luck alone that creates lasting success. It is the refusal to quit. Persistence is the quiet strength that keeps you working when applause fades. It is the inner fire that pushes you forward when the road feels endless. It is the steady hand that rebuilds after failure and the patient heart that waits for the right moment to arrive. Persistence does not guarantee an easy path, but it guarantees progress. And with enough progress, dreams eventually become reality. When you finally achieve your dream, you will look back and realize that persistence was the key. It was not the moments of excitement that carried you through, but the days of discipline when no one was watching. It was not just the victories that defined you, but the countless times you refused to quit after defeat. Persistence shaped your journey, carved your character, and delivered your dream. So, when the road feels long, when failure stings, and when doubt creeps in, remember this truth. Persistence turns dreams into reality. Keep going even when it feels like you are moving slowly. Keep believing even when others doubt. Keep fighting even when obstacles stand tall, because every step you take in persistence is a step closer to the dream you carry in your heart. And one day, you will see that what once felt impossible became inevitable simply because you refused to give up.